Hi, it's Paul from Model Builder International. Don't forget, the subscribe button is down there. We're nearly at 1,000 now. So today we're going to have a look at a kit from Mirage-Hobby. This is a 1/48 scale Halberstadt CL.IV. Halberstadt CL.IV was a German ground attack aircraft of World War I. It was a development of the Halberstadt CL.II. That aircraft had proven to be particularly effective in the ground support role, so they made an improved version of it, which was specifically designed for ground attack. The new CL.IV featured a shorter strengthened fuselage, horizontal stabilizer, greater span. This made the aircraft more manoeuvrable than its predecessor. After tests were completed, in April 1918, at least 450 were ordered from Halberstadt, another 250 from subcontractors. It was one of the most effective ground attack aircraft of the First World War, relying on good manoeuvrability to avoid ground fire. Appeared on the Western Front towards the end of the German offensives in 1918. Flights of 4 to 6 aircraft flew close support missions at less than 100 feet, suppressing enemy infantry and artillery fire ahead of advancing German troops. After these late German offensives stalled, Halberstadt CL.IVs were used to disrupt advancing Allied offensives by striking at enemy troop assembly points, and night sorties were also made against Allied airfields. Okay, let's see what we got inside the box. So this is Halberstadt CL.IV HFW. I think that tells you where it was built. Basically, this is the early production batch with a short fuselage. Mirage-Hobby have released 2 CL.IVs before, basically the initial release, and then there was another release a year after, basically with just different decals in it. So it's 1/48 scale, so pretty neat. Side here, so there's P, fret, decal sheets. That's about it, I think. On the side of doing the finish there. So let's open it up and have a look-see. So we've got instructions, glossy paper, a fair bit of background information there, and then it splits up. This is just regular paper. There's the quickly look at these, the decal choices, or the 1, 2. You've got 3 there. Look pretty neat. That one's pretty colourful. I wonder if that's it's a fragment of the original pattern. Fragment of the original painting of the Halberstadt CL fuselage. So that's good information there. Instructions. Let's see what we got. 50 steps. Starting off with the engine, quite a lot of parts of the engine. We've got the framework inside for the fuselage, and these all look pretty neat. Photo etch coming in. You've got to cut some openings in the front there. It looks like they give you a mask to do that in photo etch. So you put the right holes in the right places. We've got, so it looks like quite a detailed build. Probably not one for beginners. Like a wiring guide as well there. All sorts of bits and pieces. Here's the sprue layout. See, there's quite a few bits are crossed out. They're obviously not used. Those are from just the previous boxings. The parts not used. Looks like here. Yeah, there's lots of sprue P seems to be mostly new. So then you get this, which is see. Got the photo etch sheet, and there's another piece of decal in there. A fair few pieces on there. One decal sheet, printed by Mirage-Hobby. Looks pretty good. And then we have all these to deal with as well. More decal sheets, so that could be fun. Then we come down to the main parts. I'll open up the bag and we'll have a look inside. Okay, so as always, you get a QR code link to Mirage-Hobby's Facebook page. And then we've got, what here? 3 different propellers. Here's the fuselage. Some really nice subtle details on there actually. It looks quite sweet. And that looks quite nice. This looks like the engine. Again, nice detail on there. Some of the attachment points might be a tad on the big side, but still doable. Just cut off the attachment points. There's a cooling jacket on a gun. I can see there's holes recessed on that. A bit of paint, you might be able to make that look pretty nice without having to photo etch it. There's an extra little part there. Have engine exhausts, cowlings, elevator. That's pretty good. There's the main wings, more engine exhausts. And arrow on there, telling you which is the top. Not sure what part that is for, but it's nice they put that there for you. And you can see the ribs on the wings, raised ribs, fabric detail on there as well at the ends here. And radiator looks pretty good. So the parts look quite nice. So what we'll do, let's have a look through just some of the instructions. I'm not going to go through all 50 steps. Don't forget photographs of all the parts, all the sprues, close-ups is all on the website. The link to the website is underneath this video. Anyway, let's have a look at the part, look at some of the instructions and a close-up look at some of the main parts. Mirage-Hobby has the market cornered in 1/48 Halberstadt CLs. They released a CL.2 and 4 in 2012, and the only other kits are a CL.4 from Tom's Model Works in Korea. Mirage-Hobby reboxed the CL.4 kit in 2013 with Lithuanian decals, and this boxing that we're looking at today is from 2016 and contains new sprues for the early production shorter fuselage version. I'm not going to go through all 50 steps, otherwise we'll be here all day, but just go through some of the interesting parts. So we'll start off with the first page where we build the engine for the most part. There's a 15-part kit to build the engine. Detail looks quite nice. It's a shame that a lot of it will be hidden. Maybe you'll still see the top of the engine though, so that's pretty neat. And once you've got the engine built, you start building the frame of the cockpit that's going to go inside the fuselage halves. Now to page 3, we'll have a quick look at that. At the top right there you've got 3 different looks to the front of the aircraft depending which decal option you go for. But there is a template on the photo etch sheet to help you get those holes in the right place. Then down at the bottom the machine gun with the jacket on the front. The detail on there is really quite nice, and to be honest you can probably get away with not actually using the photo etch that's applied to make a pretty nice looking gun. Now to page 5, and at the top we're working on the mid-upper section of the wing, the top wing. The top wing comes in basically 3 parts, and this is the middle part. And they have you applying some decals here before you're putting the parts of the wings together. The wings are their own thing really. With the huge decal sheets that are going to cover them, you'll probably be finishing off the parts of the wings before you start fitting them to the aircraft. And at the bottom of this page, we're putting the undercarriage together. Be interesting to see how it all fits together. It looks like it should work okay. The parts look quite thin, but they should support the weight of the aircraft. And a quick look at a last page, talking about the wings. As I mentioned earlier, the wings are a thing on their own in this aircraft because of the decal options. I know the bottom wing, I'm not so sure about the mating points for that, whether they're going to be sufficient. You might actually want to use some short metal rod to support those to keep them in place. Other than that, should be okay, looks okay. Like I said, the decals are going to be a nightmare. You get a nice rigging guide on the last page of the instructions as well. Okay, so paints and decals. This is what will probably take some time. Paints, not so much. They're using the Vallejo numbering system, but interestingly, they don't actually label them anywhere. Like we've got Vallejo 922908, it doesn't actually tell you anywhere what those numbers mean, what the colours are. So you have to look those up for yourself, but that's no big deal. Decals, you get 2 big sheets of lozenge decal, the tops of the wings, the bottoms of the wings, and some of the tail on some of the options is also covered in lozenge. That's where you'd spend some time. Having previously worked with some big decals will definitely be useful in this one. Other than that, you should end up with something that looks pretty impressive by the end of it. So an overall conclusion. Basically it's a biplane, which sort of makes it a bit trickier anyway. There's wiring on here as well between the wings that makes it interesting. The decal sheets also adds another level of complexity to it because of the big lozenge patterns all over the place. That being said, there's some nicely detailed parts. It should look really quite nice. They're colourful schemes as well, so definitely have something that stands out on the shelf when you've got it done. All I'll say is having some First World War fighters under your belt or biplanes, definitely with lozenge patterns, will certainly make life easier for yourself. But that being said, it's a pretty neat little kit, nicely detailed, should look good when it's done, and many thanks to Mirage-Hobby for sending it along for us to have a look at.